After yesterday's terrible, disastrous PPI inflation report, investors across the board went into a mass panic. We could see Bitcoin came down 4% yesterday in value, Ethereum also came down 4%, and XRP corrected 6% in value. All investors were worried that the possibility of rate cuts would take a turn for the worse next month and turn into rate hikes, cutting our bull cycle short before it even got started. All of this FUD has resulted in Wall Street expert Tom Lee making many more appearances on CNBC, ultimately telling you to not panic, that stocks, that crypto, that Bitcoin, that XRP is going to make a recovery and can still push a lot higher without big Fed rate cuts. The elements of the market rally are still in place and edging closer every single day. Take a listen here.
It's a record-setting run for stocks and how dependent it now is on the Fed cutting interest rates this fall. Let's ask Tom Strat's head of research, also the BitMine chairman. He's here with us at Post 9. It's good to see you.
Great to see you, Scott.
So how about that question? I mean, it's on a couple of fronts. Like, we came in to this week, which you said was going to be the start of a pretty good rally, which it kind of looked like it was. Now what?
I think that the arguments and elements for a rally to continue are in place, because even today, with the hot PPI print, the stock market is basically flat. So we had a down open. I think investors bought that dip. Part of it is I don't think that the PPI is sending a message that inflation's soaring. There are some things to sort of cut out of that number.
Sure, I agree, and people have said that throughout much of the day, but it seems to have changed the conversation, if nothing else, about the amount of rate cut we might get in September. Is that fair?
Yes, it's very fair. That is correct. But if, as we think about the rest of this year and next year, I think that the thing that's the worst case for investors is Fed hiking. If the Fed does nothing between now and year end, I think some would actually argue that's half full because the economy can handle these higher rates. But if the Fed does 25 or 50 between now and year end, really to normalize real interest rates, that's actually positive for stocks. So I think unless this was going to bring in the odds of a hike, I think that's why markets had a muted reaction.
Well, what if they don't do anything? I mean, Steve Leisman is going to join us in a minute, made the argument earlier today that this changes the conversation from 25 or 50 to 25 or nothing. What happens if we go on the side of nothing? Can this market stand up under that?
Yes. I mean, because number one, and I'm sure Steve's going to talk about this, the economy doesn't seem to be suffering under the weight of these current interest rates, even though the Fed is much higher than the rest of the world on policy rates. And the second part of that is, of course, that if the Fed does 25, it's still a dovish move.
Well, it could be a hawkish cut. And Leisman's thrown out that too, right? If they cut 25 and leave us with the feeling like, all right, you got your little lollipop here, everybody, and now we're going to wait and see.
Yeah. I think the market reaction, of course, is really how people are positioned. And we at Fundstrat, we're finding a lot of investors are positioned as if we're going to see a pickup in inflation. So to them, they were expecting a really hot PPI number, thought this was going to start a decline in stocks. And that's why I think markets didn't fall as much, because I think many people have been positioned for a sort of a hot set of PPI numbers.
Now this, for me and for you watching as well, is a very, very important announcement from Tom Lee and very bullish news to us for the future outlook of this market. We can see from the market chart that these assets now today are finding their support levels and also recovering and reversing the sort of value. XRP is currently up 0.7% on the daily time frame, valued at $3.10. And in my belief, not financial advice of course, but based on information and sources, I believe that there's no doubt the value of XRP is about to go parabolic and soar to the moon in the coming weeks and months ahead. And I say this because once again, Tom Lee has made a very bullish announcement, recently giving his prediction for Ethereum this cycle, saying that Ethereum is entering its 2017 Bitcoin moment. When Bitcoin is valued at just $1,000 and now 8 years later is now worth $120,000. So from this point onwards, Ethereum could be on the verge of its own 120x run as regulation doors open, and because of regulations, this 120x could happen at an accelerated pace from institutional adoption. Take a listen here.
But Ethereum specifically, why is this something you need to hold in your portfolio?
Well, to me, Ethereum's having its Bitcoin 2017 moment again. And to give perspective, in 2017, Bitcoin was under 1,000. But that was the year when Wall Street discovered that the narrative of Bitcoin is digital gold. And Bitcoin has gone to 120,000 now, so 120 times increase. In 2025, a couple things are happening around Ethereum. The first is the Genius Act is now making stable coins kind of green lighted, which is the ChatGPT moment for crypto, but it needs a smart contract, so it doesn't work on Bitcoin. The second is the SEC is pushing forward with Project Crypto, which is actually asking Wall Street to move the entire financial system onto the blockchain. Ethereum is the preferred choice for Wall Street because it's had zero downtime since inception, matching what the banks want, 100% uptime. It's also the most legally compliant and secure blockchain because it's recognized in the US and it's the second largest blockchain. And the third is almost all of it is taking place on Ethereum. JP Morgan's building their stablecoin on Ethereum. Robinhood is tokenizing on Ethereum. You know, the custody banks are doing it on Ethereum. So it's really where Wall Street meets, but that's also where AI is meeting crypto because as you know, as we tokenize and move towards robots, you need a token economy to control them, which is taking place on Ethereum.
This is nuts. Honestly nuts. Absolutely insane news. The biggest bullish news I've heard in a long, long time. And there's a good possibility that something like this could happen considering the rally in Ethereum we have already seen. We saw Ethereum valued at below $2,000 in April. Right down here. And since then, from April to now, we have seen over a 3x in value in just what? 3 months or so, 4 months or so. That happened in such a short span of time. So think about what's going to happen once regulations are properly rolled out and more of them come into effect. Because it's going to have an accelerated pace, so Ethereum's value could rally a lot faster. But in that case, therefore, what does this mean for the price of XRP? President Donald Trump recently stated that the traditional financial system is broken. The tactical backbone of the financial system is decades out of date and that crypto will be the fix. And he is right, except it won't just be any crypto or any blockchain because it can't be Bitcoin, it's not scalable enough, and it can't be Ethereum either for that matter. XRP is the next best solution, and XRP was created for institutions, for banks, to replace the SWIFT system. We can see here in this post documented proof here that Ripple and Stellar are accessories to messaging and payments, and as documented here, and even more shocking news, we can see from the Central Bank of Malaysia, right here, their working papers, their report claimed that XRP may replace bank deposits. New private digital assets, i.e. decentralized tokens, cryptocurrencies, are emerging as alternatives to the current monetary and payment instruments. Private tokens such as Bitcoin or XRP may be widely used as means of payments outside the banking system in the future, replacing CIC or bank deposits. Mentioned Bitcoin, mentioned XRP, not Ethereum here, but then in another document here, it highlights here that crypto assets such as Bitcoin and Ethereum are unsuitable as payment instruments for most DLT use cases because of their high volatility and low scalability. They can't scale. That's the problem here. So these central banks are highlighting that XRP is the next best solution for payments because Bitcoin and ETH are not scalable enough to do so. So with that in mind, XRP also having legal regulatory clarity in the United States given by a US judge, with ETFs still not coming out yet, but they're going to be coming out in the next few months as well. Ripple and XRP having partnerships with BNY Mellon for their stablecoin, Hidden Road for the stablecoin, Bank of America, SWIFT, and many more that's coming out. XRP may be in an even better position than Ethereum. Therefore, XRP may be seeing a better than a 2017 Bitcoin moment, a 120x. In XRP right now, I put it at roughly $360, which is insane from just $3 right now. So does this seem possible to you? Let me know think down below in the comment section. Over the next few years, can XRP reach $360 minimum? And to find out a lot more, to stay even more up to date and locked in and benefit from the other incoming opportunities, look no further here than the VIP, wop.com/coin factory. From alpha institutional research documents, educational videos, private live streams, and trade alerts, and so much more. Check it all out for free for 7 days. Link down below in the description. And as always, don't look short term, think long term, do your own research, and I'll see you in the next one.